Welcome to Amazing History Stories. Today, we will talk about the Nasrids. They ruled the last Moorish territory in Spain called the Kingdom of Granada. The Nasrids were the multiracial royal family that ruled the Kingdom of Granada from 1250 AD to 1492. Despite their racial admixture, they undoubtedly identified as Arab. Muhammad ibn Yusuf was the founder of the Emirate of Granada, and he was born in 1195. Muhammad I came from a humble background. His clan was known as the Banu Nasr and descended from a prominent companion of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Muhammad I's clan immigrated to Al-Andalusia, particularly the province of Jain. They began as farmers. Even after so many centuries, Muhammad I grew up as a small farmer. He eventually distinguished himself as a leader fighting on the frontier of Muslim Al-Andalusia against the encroaching Christians. During the 13th century, the Reconquista was in full swing, and the Almohads were not united with popular support, largely due to the inevitable rise in taxes to support an army to fight the Christians and hold together the African region into one caliphate. It has been widely accepted that the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa was the point of no return for the caliphate. It happened in 1212. This precipitated a Muslim decline in Al-Andalusia, which the caliphate would never recover. As the Muslims struggled to maintain the caliphate, the Almohad Caliph Yusuf II died in 1224. This unfortunate and untimely event caused unrest in the caliphate. The caliphate was enormous and still stretched across two continents. The caliphate had two imperial capitals, one in Africa and the other in Al-Andalusia. The caliph heir, Idris al-Mamun, did not have the full support of the Almohad nobility. Caliph Idris' primary problem was Governor Yahya, who resided at the Africa imperial capital in Marrakesh. Governor Yahya rose up against his uncle to assume control over the caliphate in Africa. Caliph Idris had to leave the Al-Andalusian imperial capital in Seville to put down a rebellion in Africa by his nephew. Meanwhile, Ibn Hud, governor of Zaragoza, initiated a rebellion against the undefended caliphate in Al-Andalusia. In no time, Governor Ibn Hud controlled much of Al-Andalusia and named himself Emir Hud. Back to Muhammad I. While Emir Hud was consolidating his new emirate, Muhammad I proclaimed himself Sultan of Jain. Sultan Muhammad I initially signed an agreement with Emir Hud, but backstabbed him and entered into a truce with the Christians. Further, Muhammad I became a vassal to the Kingdom of Castile and pledged his sword to fight alongside the Kingdom of Castile against Emir Hud. Ultimately, Muhammad I and the Kingdom of Castile met the end of the emirate in Al-Andalusia. Eventually, the Christians regained the entire Iberian Peninsula, except for a sliver of territory along the southeastern coast of Spain. This area would be a kingdom or emirate governed by Muhammad I, called the Kingdom of Granada. The Kingdom of Granada was cutthroat. The Christians still fought each other, and this would give the Moors a lifeline. The Moors typically fought on the side of the Kingdom of Castile, whose perennial enemy was Aragon. It was absolutely cutthroat, with no holds barred in Granada. The Nasrids were so arrogant that they preferred to marry cousins to keep the bloodline pure. Brothers plotted to overthrow, imprison, and sometimes kill each other to gain or maintain power as Sultan over Granada. Let's fast forward to 1482. Sultan Abu el-Hasan married his cousin Aisha. The marriage was rocky, so much so you have to wonder how to get married in the first place, let alone have several children together. The breaking point for the marriage came when the Sultan took on a second wife, a Christian, and named their offspring the heir to the kingdom. Sultana Aisha was a very proud, let me say it again, a very proud woman. She was equally influential and shrewd. She was a Nasrid and had her own money and connections. She used both to enter into an alliance with the Sultan's chief nemesis, the Abyssinides. Well, remember when I said that the Nasrids were cutthroat? Sultan was cutthroat, paranoid, and a very proud man. He wasn't one to forget slights or broken promises. Unfortunately for the Abyssinides, they were in no position to avoid the Sultan. The Sultan planned a major ceremony and named the Abyssinides as honored guests. The Abyssinides obliged, and the entire leadership of the tribe attended. It was an act of betrayal. Sultan Hassan locked the doors and murdered the entire Abencerrages chiefs on that very night in the hall of the ambassadors at the Alhambra Palace. Rumor has it that blood filled the fountains and the water ran red for days. The Sultan claimed to have staged this betrayal as due punishment for their lack of support. Sultan Hassan had a very inflated ego and unrealistic view of Granada's power. He disinherited the former heir of Granada, Muhammad XII, murdered the leadership of a very strong Moorish tribe, the Abencerrages, and decided to attack the Kingdom of Castile. The former two acts were bad, but the attack on the Kingdom of Castile was suicide. As though that wasn't enough, the Queen of Castile, Isabella, married the King of Aragon, King Ferdinand. Since the kingdoms of Castile and Aragon united, the Kingdom of Granada lost its importance as an ally to Castile. However, Granada became an object for conquest, hence the Reconquista. The Moors knew they were in trouble. The united Christian kingdoms were moving on the Kingdom of Granada. Sultana Aisha entered into an alliance with the remaining members of the Abencerrages tribe and proclaimed her son, Muhammad XII, Sultan of Granada. This led to a civil war while the Christian kingdoms systematically attacked, defeated, and assumed Moorish territory. The Kingdom of Granada lasted from 1250 AD to 1492 AD. As you may surmise, there is much more to this story. The historical figures, events, and places have been woven into a riveting fictional story in the book The Moors in Spain, when Arab and African Muslims led the world. The book is available on Amazon.com. Goodbye for now. See you in the next episode of Amazing History Stories. You don't want to miss the Spanish Inquisition, when Muslims and Jews struggled for survival together.